Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a Vitamin Water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
Welcome to Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick. I'm Mo, and every week I'm asking today's most captivating artists how they got their acts together. The show isn't about their best or most famous work. It's about the work that means the most to them, their creative process, and why they make their art. This week's guest is a stand-up comedian, writer, and performer. He's a cast member on Saturday Night Live. He's written for shows like Big Mouth and Everything's Trash. And on his new podcast, My Favorite Lyrics, he's sitting down with his funniest friends and fellow music lovers to explore the lyrics that live rent-free in their heads. Please welcome to the pod, Devon Walker. Ready, set, shove!
Hey!
Every time, baby, every time.
Every time. It feels so
Every
natural.
time.
Yeah.
I know. You hear your name, you say, "Where are the lights, mama?"
Yeah, you're right. You warned me, and here I am. I'm just like the rest of them.
You said, "Hey." Devon, dear one, how are you?
I'm doing well. You know, it's
love
a
that.
hot summer day in New York City.
Is it?
It's like finally like really summertime. It like took a while to get here, and like we just got it.
That's pretty gross.
I mean, you lived in New York for a long time, so you know
Yeah.
I feel like it's a city where we're looking forward to summer all year because it's cold all of the time.
Hmm.
And then when it finally arrives, I feel like very quickly I'm like, it's actually I'd like to put a sweater on again.
I'd like to leave it on, please,
Yeah,
Valentina. You are a Texas boy, though, so
it's true. I got a lifetime's worth of heat.
I've known her. I knew her. I don't need to know her again.
We had a beautiful life together, but I love seasons. You know, I'm happy to get all 4 seasons now.
Well, speaking of, on Netflix right now. Speaking of success, I would love to chit chat with you about, well, one, you have 1,000 beautiful projects going on. You got your stand-up tour coming up. You have an incredible new podcast, but also you're a member of a very respected institution called Saturday Night Live.
It's true. Yes, I am. Mhm.
Yes. Speak on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a thing that I feel really, really proud of in my life. Just like getting there. You know, there are certain people where like that's their goal, that's their
Yeah.
endpoint, that's where they hope to land. Like that was never even on my radar.
It wasn't.
Not really. I had friends that worked there. I think on a certain level, I was like, oh, I have friends who are writers on the show. Maybe one day I could be a writer there. Like that
Yeah.
was, but like I'd never written sketch. I had performed sketch once or twice, but like was never really seriously doing that. I wasn't coming from the spaces that I knew that a lot of people from that show came from. And
Yeah.
so, you know, there are people all over the country who are like working on those skills presently. And like that wasn't me. So like it wasn't really something that I ever really expected to do until I like started auditioning. They asked me to audition and I like went through that process and I was like, oh, these auditions are going really well. I was like, I might just work on the show. And now, you know, three years later, you know, I feel very proud to have just gotten to have been a part of it because it never really felt like a place that was like gonna be knocking down my door. So the fact that I've like been here and gotten to work with some of my friends was like, yeah, it's been really beautiful.
I love that because we start with like a too long didn't read, and before we got on mic, you were saying just how proud you are of that accomplishment, and I think
Yeah.
that is beautiful. But I'm wondering when you say that, like, is that helpful to you process-wise to not want something, right? Because sometimes when you know you're smiling,
Yeah.
it's like when you go so hard at something, it can kind of blind you. Was that almost in your benefit to be like, whatever, I guess?
I think so. I feel like just the way that my life works, I feel like if I would have been like 10 years old being like, I gotta make it on that show, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm sure I think something else would have happened. I think it all happens the way that it's supposed to. But I do feel like the fact that I was not aiming in that direction made it that much easier. Also, like I wasn't, I'd submit a packet from time to time, but I just wasn't after it so hard. So like it wasn't like every single year I was like getting disappointed. Like I know friends that I work with on the show
Yeah.
now who have always wanted to be on that show, and every year that they didn't get asked to audition or like somebody else that they knew got it felt personal in a way that I can imagine that like by the time they got to audition, they were like, this has to work.
Yes.
And so I think because it was not a place that I like really expected to be, it helped me be loose and just be like, oh, I probably won't be on the show. Like I probably won't get
Mm.
hired. And so that I was just like, I'm just gonna do stuff that I like and that feels right to me, and then like see where the chips fall. And then here we are 3 years later.
Did you ever play sports?
Yeah, yeah. I played football mostly growing up.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So I always think it's like an athlete mindset where it's like you kind of just have to be a soldier and do the thing. But when there's this end goal of like, I'm going to do this, it's like, well, no, because that's negating every single day, right?
Yeah.
If you say, like, I'm just going to win the championship, it's like, well, no, then you're not in the gym focusing on today.
Hmm.
Because you and I both were surrounded by people who had grown up as that as their goal and did succeed getting that goal, but it is a different energy than those just approaching wanting to be successful in general.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you were a really good volleyball player, I've heard growing up.
Yeah.
What? Your reputation precedes you because you've never told me this.
I don't have
It's
to.
it's
I don't
just
have to. My game
that's
speaks.
that's how nice Mo was. But like I was like a fine enough football player, but I went to a school where like four different guys made it to the NFL. So it was
Mhm.
like when you have those types of guys around you, it's really easy to understand. Like, oh yeah, so I guess this isn't my
Okay, I
future.
guess I'm a comedian.
Yeah, it's like I did truly like I played with a guy who like won a Super Bowl, and that kid was so much better than me from the
Yeah.
time we were 12 to the time we graduated high school that it
Yeah.
it just made very clear to me what my route was not going to be. But I don't was it like that for you, like playing sports? Or were you so good that you were like, I'm going to the top with this?
I got recruited at 13. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
you were
like,
you were the kid. You were the kid who was
yeah.
reminding the other kids that they weren't supposed to do it. That was
Well,
you.
here's what I'll say though. To that point, like even with any skill, like some of the theater kids, where I was like, I love theater, like I love doing this, and training does matter because then I'm in my senior year and I'm like, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? And then you see the kids who are so talented and working so hard and know so much about the world and the game that you don't. It is very helpful bumpers to be
Mhm.
like, oh, you know what? Like it's not that I can never do that, but like unless I have the sort of runway to get to that space or commitment to get to that space,
Mhm.
maybe something else.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
and I think it is why you always want to play with people that are better than you in any arena
Yeah.
because it's telling you one, it's inspiring you, or it's telling you this isn't your game.
Mhm.
Like,
Absolutely.
also, I do want to because Erica, my producer, has done such wonderful research, and I do think when it comes to trajectory of you like understanding like what your role as a comedian is, not a football player or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Not at
Like,
all.
but I hear you got your master's in organizational leadership.
Yes. Yes,
That's
that's true.
incredible.
Yeah, I have a master's degree. That's true.
But what a specific master's degree. So to the
Yeah.
point of your process and your end goal, like what did you see that manifesting as?
I didn't start doing stand up until I was already in grad school. And so like in college, I didn't really I've said this in a lot of places, but like I'll say it here too. Like it wasn't that like people were telling me that I couldn't be creative as a career. It never occurred to me.
Yeah.
There was just no one that I grew up around. Like my dad worked for the state for like 25 years. And that's a good job. He had
Solid.
health insurance and like a pension and like retirement. It's a really good thing. And like I grew up across the street from a guy who like ran a printing press out of his garage.
Yeah.
A guy down the street was like a cop, or like this person like was like a manager at the local grocery store. Those are the types of jobs that I saw people doing around me. So like that's the type of stuff I was aspiring to. So me going to grad school was literally just like, all right, well, like I gotta get a job doing something. And like in undergrad,
Mm,
I was a psych major. And I was like, well, I don't want to be a professor, which is kind of what you do with that. So I guess I'll go to
yeah.
more school. And so like the program that I went to was basically like it was kind of about the people side of business. And so it's all about kind of like trying to meet people where they are, like meet the like client base that you have or like the it's basically about like changing the culture in
Mm,
professional spaces. It's about like looking at like what exists in an organization and then being like, all right, where are they and where does this organization want to be culturally and like learning how to like implement that culture into the business space. And so I was like, oh, that sounds like something I could do. I think I understand people and like it's a job where like some of the people I went to school with are making genuinely more money than I am being on TV.
is it like consulting at
Yeah,
that
it's
point
like
then?
yeah, they
Yeah,
become
okay.
like management consultants.
Yeah, think of the guy that consulted on Max and HBO Max, like, each time got, like, a $67 million fee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
if you can like actually change cultures and like produce results like doing this job, you can make like fuck you money. And so
Yes.
I was like, oh, I want to make money, and this seems like something that's in my wheelhouse. So that's how I landed on this program. Never once have held a job in it for even a moment.
Well, but that's kinda the opposite of this podcast because it's kinda, the way you do one thing is the way
Sure,
you do everything,
sure.
and, like, it's interesting that you say you kind of didn't have a conscious end goal of SNL,
Mm-mm.
and you just worked forwards, whereas you were learning how to have an end goal and work backwards from that.
Yeah,
And it's like when it comes to like almost adapting your stand up to sketch and to a space
yeah,
or even, to a podcast or to a tour that is more hybrid, like do you use those skills intentionally? Like, cause it's like you do have to map. It's like the culture in your case would be the room, the audience, right? Like, how do I
yeah,
get them on board with how the feeling should be?
yeah. Like, do I use the skills that I learned in grad school?
Yeah, yeah.
My mom asked me this the other day, and like,
Did she really?
yeah, she's asked me this before because she, I think, like you, is like all of this works together, even if you're
Yeah.
not like directly working in the field. So like, I don't know. I do think I got a good sense of like understanding the way in which like companies worked, for lack of a better term. Like, so it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like I'm going into this like stand-up environment. It's like, all right, well, how does this place work? Like, who's in the hierarchy? Who should I
Hmm.
like know? I guess ultimately I'm saying is like, I mean, I guess I'm just describing like
Networking.
networking.
Yeah.
I guess it's like actually what I'm describing, but like it didn't feel like that. I think
I know
I
what you're saying.
I think I genuinely was just like, oh, like I see I see the way that this place functions and I think I see who I need to be inside of it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I think that's a skill that I learned in grad school that like,
It's community-based networking, right? It's like, how can I
yeah,
be a harmonious part of this community?
of what's going on in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny like once you like when you're doing live performance, when you're doing stand up, it doesn't feel like work to me at least. It
No.
doesn't feel like work. You're kind of just like, oh, I'm just like saying stuff that I like came up with and like exploring and like having fun with this audience in the room. But like as you
Yeah.
start to get like do work, as you start to get jobs, you're like, oh, this is like it is a job. It is a job and it functions not way too differently than like working in any other like corporate structure.
Hugely.
Yeah, it's all kind of the same. And so I think I got prepared for it in that way for sure.
Hey, it's Paris. You know, I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
the fun part for anyone of any job is us on stage, but it's like the real work is like the stuff around it of like, like making sure this is the right venue for you. If your team is, understanding the game, it's all those different parts that everyone experiences in the tedium.
Yeah. The tedium. That's a good word.
It's a word that is important to me because it exhausts me. Tedium exhausts me.
Yeah. I think you and I are similar in that way.
Really?
Absolutely.
Well, it's a dream bigger. It's like someone that dreams big. You go, I can't. These small things, I can't.
I don't want to do all that stuff over there. I got a whole idea up here. Can y'all figure out the speakers and stuff?
I love that. To that point, how have you survived? Like, I like breaking down literal process.
Yeah.
Because, right, if we're similar, but I feel like I've come up in so many spaces where people are like, well, you need to do this to get this, and you need to do that.
Yeah.
So I like when someone's like me and they break down their process because it gives permission. So it's like when you were like, even writing your set or planning a tour, like for you, is that just getting in rooms and running sets? Is that I have to move from Austin? Is that I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. and write all my jokes?
I wish I was like that. I wish I was.
You could tell by the way I said it. I hate it.
I mean, I respect. I have friends who have that process where they're like, okay, I wake up and then I run, and then after I run, I come back and I take a shower and I meditate, and then after I meditate, then I like write a script, and then I write down stand up, and then at night I perform. Like I know people who are like, I've never been like that around anything really.
Nothing in my life.
I've never, even when I was playing sports, even the most serious I was about it, it was like, yeah, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna work out today. I don't know when. I'll find it in my day whenever it fits. Like I'll go run, I'll go like run routes or like do whatever, like when it happens. But like I've never been a super like boom, but like it's never been very regimented for me.
Yeah.
Before I got the show, I was on stage probably 5 or 6 nights every week. And that was
you were always getting on show. Yeah,
I was out and about.
Yeah.
And since I've gotten the show, now like I get up when I can. Some people are getting up like during the week, but I like don't have the like mental energy for it.
Oh my
Just
God.
working at that show takes like every drop of like attention and like creativity that I have all goes into that place. And so like now I'm doing it, once every 3 weeks or 2 times in the off. Like it's just, I mean, part of it is just like we're basically on a teacher schedule, so like we don't make money in the summer. So it's like part of it is like, oh, this is like
on a teacher schedule.
We go from like
I know you.
We go from like September to May, and then in the summer it's like, all right, well, I don't really have a job right now, so like let's go to work. So now I think that it's summertime. I'm trying to like take all the little ideas that I wrote down over the last like 4, 5, 6 months and like say them as many times as I can. And my process, I'm writing on stage a lot. So it is like, I'll write down an original idea, I'll write down a thought, and then it'll be me kind of like saying that idea and then talking through it, kind of digging and finding like, oh, there's a laugh over here. Let me take that. Like I'll keep that part. Oh, like I haven't figured out how to present the premise. So I need to like work on that. And it's kind of like it's like whittling away at like a block of wood. Where it's just like, okay, like it's this big chunk and then slowly but surely kind of like whittling it down until I like have something that feels like what I like.
Yeah, because you have something. It's not like you're collecting material. It's like you have a bunch and then you're refining.
Yes. And I'm a Notes app guy. I'm in the Notes app. I'm putting new ideas in there constantly.
But you know what? As you're speaking, it's striking me. I always find some of the guests similar that you don't expect. Do you watch Survivor at all?
I used to. Me and my mom watched the first season together
that's nice.
When I was a kid. And I watched it for, I don't know, maybe the first like 5 or 6, and then I kind of fell off of it. But yeah, I've seen Survivor.
So we had Parvati on, and she is so brilliant at speaking to her experience. And a lot of her experience when it comes to like going on other shows or even just living in the world is going against people's perceptions of her, right? And expectations of her. And I'm curious, when you're talking about whittling this down, I think about even on the show or stand up off, like you kind of came in with the young sort of stand up Pete Davidson shoes to fill and all these perceptions around you and all these expectations around you. And I'm wondering, one, if that helped, or two, did your stand up have to change after for the room? You know what I mean? Like then you're talking to a different room almost.
Oh, for the room, like at SNL?
Well, it could be at SNL,
or
but
just
even in the
just in
stand-up room, like the
general?
people coming to see you, like they have different expectations of you, or like people perceived her as a villain, so she had to work with that and also validate herself about her. Let's say it's for you, like your own comedy
Yeah.
outside of the perceptions of who you are on television.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Thanks.
I think that, that's a really good question. Um, I don't know. I think that's it's a two-pronged thing because at first I think specifically like when I got on the show, I think I was like really invested in what people's perceptions of me were. Like to be frank, like I kind of got on the show and like it wasn't it wasn't like an immediate like people did not love me off rip. People actually were people actually were kind of and it like
That's so tough.
it
That is, I'm laughing, but that's so tough.
it genuinely was, like, very hard because it genuinely was, like at least from the way that I felt, it was, like so I came in with Michael Longfellow, Marcelo Hernandez, and Molly Carney, and when I came in, it's like Michael Longfellow he did a Weekend Update, his first episode, and I remember, like, everybody was, like, going up about it,
Yeah.
people loved it. I remember Marcelo did his Weekend Update, and it was, like, everybody was going crazy. I didn't mind it, it was kinda like it kinda came and went. It kinda came and went, like, people weren't hating on it, but people were like, "Yeah, it was, like, alright." And so but
Mm-hmm.
I was reading every single thing that anybody had to say about me, and especially during my first season,
Mm.
people they weren't really fucking with what I was bringing to the show, and, like, that will weigh on you. It was my first time, like, seeing, like, big swath especially when you're seeing your peers sort of get a different level of approval, there is
Yes.
something that, like, you're like, "Fuck." It brings in a lot of self-doubt.
That's hard to come up in a class that is almost all stand-ups. Like,
Yeah.
that's not as common as it happened, you know?
No, and I don't think they'll do that for a while. I don't think there'll ever be another 4 straight stand-up class. I don't think we'll see that again. I'll just from what I understand. But yeah, I think I was really invested in people's perception of me for a while, and then I think, like, at a certain point in time, I think I had to, like, remove myself from it because, like, I wasn't
Mhm.
it wasn't, like, refilling me in any way. If anything, it was, like, draining from me. So then I, like, stopped reading things about myself as much as I possibly could, and I was like, "Oh, I have to just sink myself into, like, the work and, like, what feels good." And, like, part of me,
Mm.
like, creating this podcast was literally just like, "Oh, I just want a thing that, like, feels like it's just a thing that's interesting to me that doesn't feel like I have to ask anybody to do it."
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's also almost in isolation. Everything you do is an instant feedback, live television, stand-up show.
Yes.
Like, this one is private a little bit.
Yeah, it's private, and also, like, I mean, stand up. There was a time I think, especially this is why I had to, I think, move away from people's perceptions of me as much as possible. Is there was a time where in my first season and a half or so, it made stand up less fun because it was less
Mm.
of the Pete thing of it all. It was more just like, oh, now that I've gotten this cosign from this institution, now it feels like I have to back it up.
Yeah.
Now it feels like I have to prove to everybody like why I was worthy of this thing. And I don't even know if that's a pressure that really existed, but it was a pressure I was putting on myself for
I
sure,
think unfortunately I do think it does exist. Of like, let's see what you got. As if like anyone's the arbiter of comedy, in the middle of
wherever. But like
yeah.
it was yeah, it felt like a very real pressure and it like kind of transformed this thing that always felt like I used to do like social work when I lived in Texas.
Mhm.
I used to work in the like call center. It's like anytime anybody wanted to
Wow.
like call in or call like if you wanted to call CPS, you had to like make a report through me, which is like bummer work as you can
That's
imagine.
so emotionally intense. No wonder you're ready for SNL. Jesus.
Well, it
Yeah,
was no,
yeah.
I'll say
But
that
it's emotionally, yeah,
it
it's
was it
huge.
was really it was just a lot. It was very intense. You're hearing everybody who's talking to you is like having a bad day all the time. I did that job for 3 years.
Mm,
I did that job for 3 years and at that point like stand up was the only thing kind of keeping me sane. That was like my safe place. That's where I
mm,
went. And then I got on the show. People are like not loving the work that I'm doing on the show and then I'm like going to my safe space but I'm like, well now there's pressure there. So now it's not just a thing I'm doing for fun. Now I have to like prove it and it's like I think the pressure I'm putting on myself and the fact that I'm thinking about other people's perception is like it's taking the fun away from the thing that used to be my like safe space. So I kind of
mm.
had to like move away from what anybody's perception was and just be like, all right, I got to do exactly what I like to do. And that's the space that I like find myself in now, where I'm just like, that's ultimately all that really matters. Like I got on the show because I had a perspective and a point of view that resonated with people. And like, that's the only thing that I can ever look at. That's the
Maintain.
only, like, that's got to be my like North Star, because like everything else just sort of happens the way that it happens. Like the only thing that I've ever really known for sure is like what I like creatively. And that got me to where I'm going, or to where I'm at.
This episode is brought to you by Pluto TV. Summer of cinema is here, and Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Beverly Hills Cop, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Good Burger, Stealth, Four Brothers, and Star Trek. Bring the action with you and stream for free on all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never. Stream now at pluto.tv.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
And you bring up such a good point, because it is such a dance when the thing that is an outlet, right? That you're like, one, releasing through stand up, and you're also like generating creativity. And it's like so like this almost personal ecosystem. So then when people's art gets commodified or all of a sudden is on a schedule, it's so difficult to keep that balance. And I think it might not, the whole world isn't going to change because it is how we make money, but I do think it would serve a lot of us to acknowledge it when we're kind of like, why isn't this fun? Why do I hate this? It's like, well, because it's actually serving a different purpose right now. And you either, like you're saying, shut out the perception, or you get a pocket. You find a different outlet that satisfies the same feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know. I think I like this podcast. This is really nice.
I'm so happy. I love that.
I like this podcast. This is really nice because it's like I don't know if you feel this, but it's like when I'm doing mine, I feel like there's very much like and this is a backwards way to think about it. I shouldn't think about it this way, but as I'm doing it, I'm like, oh well, I guess I should be funny. I should do something funny on here so that then we can get something together and then like put it out later, because we're all fucked now. We're all fucked, and it like can't just be fun. We can't just. Everything again is commodified. Everything like has to become business. Everything's got to circle back into like output on some level. It's so rare that I come to a place where I'm like, oh, we're just having like a real organic conversation. It's very pleasant.
I'm so glad, because you know what I call it? Me and George Severus were talking about this. I call it the Quanta Observed, because it's like when we're at a party, we're all like, and it's the funniest, but it's no pressure. But the second it's like you're performing a conversation, be funny and interesting and talk about this niche specific thing. And it's like, ugh. The second you look at me, I'm like, I don't exist. It's not real. It's too much pressure. And so it's like, it is exactly put that to your point, where it's like, funny will come. But again, when we're like throttling it, it's like, But that being said, I've never been funny in my life on this podcast.
But that's nice. It's like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like when it becomes your job to be funny, it feels like a release to not have to be. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, it feels so good. It feels and almost in obstinance. Like it is when people are like, you can feel them kind of like milking you you're like, I don't know, maybe. Like even if you have an incredible quip to
and it's like, I don't know if do you feel when people like know that you do comedy, when you're like a comedian, do you feel a pressure to be funny when you meet people?
No, the second they find out I'm a comedian, I'm humiliated that I'm being funny, because it's like I can't help it, right? Like, and like, sorry, but like I'm super funny. I'm in a space. I like comedy on things. I like cheat. I like riffing. I love yes anding with a motherfucker, right? Like it connects you instantly. It feels good. It's easy.
Yeah.
The second someone's like, oh, and Mo's a comedian. I'm like, no, because it looks like I'm like, I can't turn off. You know what I mean? It looks like,
Yeah.
and I don't like it. So then I'm kind of like, yes, but I also volunteer. And what do you feel when people say that?
I feel very similar to you in the way that it's like, I do comedy and like I really enjoy it. It is my job. It's like afforded me like a lot of really nice things in my life. I've gotten to see and do a lot of like really cool stuff. But like I don't like dealing with whatever people's perception of what a comedian is.
Exactly.
I
It
hate
sucks.
I hate dealing because it's like because it means a different thing to different people. And so oftentimes I'm like, I don't think I'm what you're thinking. I don't whatever you think a comedian is, I don't think I'm that. And now you're kind of disappointed because you thought I was gonna be fucking Slappy Johnson or whoever, and like
Famed comedian
just
Slappy
yeah.
Johnson.
I'm like, I don't know, whatever that is, and 9 times out of 10, somebody's expectations out of it, like whatever they think a comedian is not really who I am, and
Mhm.
then it feels like they're kind of like, oh, like I like I don't I like this guy, and like this guy talks like this, like you're not like kind of like be that, and I'm like, I don't fucking we're at my cousin's wedding. I don't want to do that. I wish you didn't know that I was a comedian. Because it's like you're now neither of us are having fun.
But I one, of course, and two, it's like I hate it when you can feel them being like sizing you up all of a sudden,
Yeah,
and you can't say it too, because then you're just an asshole, being like, all right,
yeah,
chill out. Like we're at the
yeah,
cousin's wedding, because
yeah.
then you seem so pretentious. But I feel like, especially my male friend comedians, I notice it immediately when like just men will peacock all of a sudden. It's like you say you're a comedian, all of a sudden a guy will be like, oh yeah, like blah blah blah, and it's like so gross. And I find most, you don't expect it, right? But most of my male comedian friends handle it so well, and they're like, let this guy take that, I guess. But it's pretty aggressive.
It's nuts, and you have to.
It's nuts.
It's nuts. It's
Yeah.
nuts, and it's like it's always like. I think weddings is like where I'm coming up against the most, or just, like
You're just coming out to people you wouldn't be around otherwise, too.
exactly like people
Mm.
that you're not really interacting with, and so it's like you'll be at a wedding for like a person you went to high school with, and especially now again I'm on a very famous show. I don't, some people know that, or like sometimes somebody has told somebody else and they're like, oh hey, I heard you're like on da da da. They're like, well, my favorite comedian's this guy, and it's always a guy that I'm like, I fucking hate that guy.
It's the worst.
I don't.
It's always the worst person.
It's never a guy that I'm a fan of. It's always a guy who like says slurs.
Yes.
It's always a guy that I'm like, he's like, I love that guy. Like, do you know this guy? Do you know that guy? Like, oh man, like it'll drop like some podcast names. And I'm like, I don't fuck with any of what you're talking about.
They'll drop YouTube names that I'm like, I don't really know. And then it seems like I'm not a comedian.
Well, yes, and they're like, oh, so you don't know about comedy? You don't know about you don't know about Squid and the Dink? You're not
And
listening to
Slappy
that?
Johnson, 100%.
You're not listening
Yeah.
to Slappy Johnson, bro?
Yeah,
Like,
Slappy, sorry.
that's real comedy, and I'm just like like I love talking about comedy with my friends who are in it, but
Love
to
it.
any other person, I'd rather talk about genuinely anything else. I don't know if you have this, but like I'm at the point when I meet someone who I enjoy interacting with, when I meet somebody who is nice and cool, and I'm like, I feel like we can be friends, and they are not involved in the entertainment industry, that's bliss for me. That's I'm like, I want to talk to anybody about anything other than what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, you're an anesthesiologist? Yeah.
Pretty rock.
Let's get into that. What's going on with
Oh, wait, you might run up against this too, though, because then I get too interested, and it seems like but I genuinely am. I'm like, I want to hear about anything else, and they're like, yeah, it's my job, I guess.
That's tight, especially if I love talking to other people. I mean, the best is I really like talking to other creative people who do
Yes.
something that I don't do. Like that's
That's what I was
really,
gonna
really
say.
nice.
It's people who don't do what I do, but have a sense of humor themselves. Like they don't have to be a
Yeah,
comedian. They can banter a little bit. Like that is the best. It just feels
that's really,
nice.
really, it's lovely. It's really like, I don't know. Like, unless you have a job that's just like emailing, I don't want to really hear about your email job. But if you've like, and unless you really love it, unless you're really passionate about,
It zooms
you
out.
know,
We're like the snobbiest snobs. We're like, and this is the.
and this is you can only have,
Yeah.
you can work in
And why are people
newspapers
aggressive to us?
or be an architect.
Yeah.
Don't be anything else. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I genuinely like, I'm at the point now where I really, yeah, I just love meeting people. We can be in such a bubble. This is, and I don't know if this is real, but like, this is like a big part of my aversion to moving to Los Angeles is I'm already in a bubble in the city that I
Yeah.
live in, but it feels like you can hop out of it. In LA, I feel like I always end up in such a bubble, and the city is such a bubble in a way that I'm like, I fear that. I don't know if and I don't even know if it's real or not.
It's real. It's real. It
Yeah.
really is. I will say, like, it's like it took me a long time to realize whether it was like the people, the energy, but like you do end up in a lot of erotic conversations, and then you kind of end up being like, "Am I, perpetuating the stereotype? Am I judging? Am I not?" And it's like, no, you're just the people are like that, and
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it's so funny because I feel in what you're saying of like the desire to just like speak on something freely and creatively. I too, in the same way your podcast is about my favorite lyrics,
Mhm.
my friend Demi and I are like we'll go dancing and we're upset. We'll just talk nonstop about like different music. Oh my God, they laid this DJ did this. And it feels so, and my friend Darian and I will go on walks and we'll talk about like the transition from like R&B to like rhyme scheme of like Wheezy from, the melody of 50. And it's like, to me, 100 years, I could talk about this.
Yeah.
And it's easy and it's fun and it's creative, but it doesn't have the weight, like we're saying, of my identity, of why do I know this, of am I good enough at it? And I
Mhm.
do think there is something to what we're saying of like just creative without the associations or perceptions.
Absolutely. I don't know if you have this, but I feel like I've talked to so many people who are creative in one sense, who are always talking about how they're like, how they need to find like an actual creative hobby
I know.
because it's like, this is, yeah, it's like we all kind of have this, right? Because it's like you, comedy starts out as a hobby, then it becomes your job, and then it takes, it's still something you love and appreciate, but it takes on a different space in your mind. And then you're kind of like, huh, I miss that feeling. I miss that feeling of just like figuring out something. And so the amount of comedians that I know who have like bought a keyboard or like or
I
like
love
DJ equipment where they're like, I'm
my
gonna
God, the launch pad, 100%.
the
Yeah,
little like,
yeah.
yeah. And I've told myself I'm gonna do it. I've yet to start, but I do you have anything like that?
No, I like my friend Jeremy like asked me if I wanted his guitar a few months ago, and I was like, okay. I bought it for like cheap, and I haven't really touched it. I tried touching it. I don't know.
Well, I guess
I
I
don't
guess that's the
know.
thing too, is like we don't even necessarily know what our other creative
That's what I
things should
mean.
be.
Because it's
Because
like,
it might not be guitar, it might be piano, but you don't have a piano, and
I
it's like
know.
that's the stuff that people usually do when they're like 11,
I-
where they like
Oh yeah, and it takes
try a bunch of
practice to even
yeah,
know. So then
yeah,
I'm like, am
exactly.
I getting through the hard part of the practice to then have a beautiful outlet, or am I just hating this the whole time? I can't tell.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough
What
to
did
know,
you
and
buy
it's
one?
no, I didn't. I will say, unfortunately, there was a time during the pandemic where I started figuring out how to make beats.
I'm obsessed with
That's
that. That's great.
I started, I don't know if they're probably on my old laptop that I don't use anymore, but yeah, there was a time where I was just like, I just want to figure out how all this works. I just want to figure out, but like, I don't know. I fear that if I got too good at making beats, then I'd be like, well, I got to start putting some of these out. I got to start like, I want it to be removed from that. I just want to be back in that space of creating without the expectation of,
But what is that though?
you let me know if you ever find the answer.
Because I do grapple with this because I think we're all like expressing on multiple levels. We have multiple talents. They do cross over, right? The rhythm of a joke, the rhythm of a song, all these things. And then I go, well, why couldn't I? Is it perfectionism stopping me? Because I look at the artists that I'm like so inspired by, like do it all. I think about Donald Glover, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, his music is amazing. And it's not like
Mhm.
a comedian who like decided to do it. It's another
Mhm.
facet of his talents.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, it's like, do I not take myself seriously enough? Is my own perception as comedian stopping me because I'll be embarrassed if it's bad music?
Mhm.
Like, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Especially when you've spent so much time committed. Like Donald's somebody that I would imagine has been like doing all of it the
I
entire
know.
time. And so it's like all of those skills are like building up towards each other. I feel like it's a whole different thing to like work. Like I did comedy through my whole 20s and pretty much and nothing else. You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, so now I'm like whatever level of comedy I'm at, like I'm there. Let's say I'm in college for comedy, but like it seems
Yeah.
so hard to be like, all right, well now I got to go back to kindergarten for beat making. That seems, but maybe there's beauty to be found there. There probably is, but I think that's the like voice inside of us that like that makes us like hesitant around things like that.
I know, because then I'm wondering if I'm coming up against my own sort of capitalism there, right? Is like, am I not expressing because it's not good enough and wouldn't sell and people wouldn't like it?
I think there's a little piece of that. I think part of the thing we're talking about is like the trap of being ambitious as well, right?
Fair.
Because it's like I do think part of it just comes from like this aspiration. Like it's just being aspirational. It's just being like, oh, I want to climb. I want to climb. I want to get better, and I want people to like. You want a certain like acknowledgement of you getting better, and like that's the thing that I'm trying to get away from. But it's also really hard where it's like everything feels like numbers now. You know what I'm saying? It's like every
100%.
so many people that we're seeing that are like becoming successful or just becoming successful off like having having the biggest numbers.
Yeah. And it sometimes crosses over to excellence, but not always.
I'd say a lot of times it does not. I'd say oftentimes it does not. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes it is. For some people we know who are like doing big numbers are like really making excellent work. But like I don't know. I feel like I can get trapped in the like that feeling of like, all right, what if I start doing this new thing and it's not well received and it doesn't come across in that way.
Well, 100%. I'm wondering, you mentioned how you had a hybrid stand-up show. What is the hybrid, meaning like sketch and comedy or emotion, music? Like, what is the hybrid there?
So it's kind of like a hybrid, like it's a hybrid stand-up, and I hate to use this next word, but like I guess ultimately that's what it is like it's like a hybrid stand-up like crowd work show where
Okay.
it is genuinely like every setup, every premise will be like kind of the floor will be opened as like a conversation to the audience. And then like I want to create a space where we can be like actually having a dialogue where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, at the end of this, it feels like we all kind of like obviously you guys are going to know me, but I kind of want the audience to kind of know each other a little bit as well at the end of it. But everything like ties back into like a thing that I already have a joke about. And I've done some version. I've done the show on a handful of occasions, but like I really would like to grow it and I'd like to like bring it around. I think like it's felt weirder on tour because when you go on tour, you're going to these like you're going to like clubs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to clubs where I
Mm-hmm.
think they're like, hey, like don't be trying none of that like extra shit. We just do the jokes and like we're gonna sell chicken fingers and we're gonna keep it moving. But like in spaces that like that are open to like a little bit more like I don't know experimentation. I feel like I've like brought this around and like I'll usually create like an aisle where like there's like half the crowd on one side and
Love
half the
this.
crowd on the other one. And I'll be like, I'll go down the aisle and like ask
Yeah.
a question. I'll pose a question to everyone and then I'll let somebody talk about it. Sometimes I'll make a comment about it. If somebody else has something that they want to add, they can add something. And then after a little bit of that dialogue, we'll go back into the joke that I have about it. And that's a version of stand up that's very fun to me.
You know what I love about it is that one, it's like, we kind of came up when everyone in our crew was alt comedy, but it's very
Yeah.
theatrical.
Yeah.
And in order to have successful theatrical sort of comedy, you have to be able to be uncomfortable. Like you have
Mhm.
to be able, like, because it's like they're not going to be funny. I know I'm going to be funny, but also like
Mhm.
available to maybe they're being emotional or whatever, which is so hard in club spaces because they either want you to absolutely own them and go viral,
Yeah.
or but if you're actually just like earnestly engaging and wanting to create a space, it is such a sort of like a artist's what is this statement before where it's like, I want to create a feeling where we made this show together and you
Yeah.
leave with that unique thing. But it goes back to what we're talking about with like perception and like permission to be unfunny in the service of an eventual laugh. And
Yeah.
it's that I'm excited for how you manage that because it does the work is almost all around it because you can work a room and like get us back to the joke, but it's
Yeah.
are they ready to be available to that?
Yeah, like you said, having the confidence of being like, "All right, we'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you back to the laugh. I'm steering the ship. We might hit some choppy waters, but like I'll get us where we need to go." But like I don't know. It kind of depends on the audience where it's like, "All right, they have to trust me enough that I'm going to steer them that they can like be open enough to like really share." Cuz some of the questions really just start with like, stuff like what were you afraid of when you were a kid?
Oh, heavenly. That's fun.
And then it's
Yeah.
like that dives into this irrational fear that I had when I was a kid that I have a joke about. And yeah, some of them are stuff like that, or some of them are like, questions like, I don't know, when you had a kid, was your kid the type of kid that you thought they were going to be at first? It's stuff
Yes.
that it's like it gets into like real deep, real things, but it's like you gotta I don't there's so much of a culture of like dunking on audiences
Yes.
that I've never cared for in stand up.
Mm-mm. I don't think it's nice at all. They're there for you.
They're there for you. They paid
Yeah.
money. They
Yeah.
paid money, and you're like, but I mean, some people enjoy that. There's a type of person who shows up to a type of
Well, it's
comedian
like
shows
the
that
people
like,
in Chicago were like, we're going to Dick's and the waiters are going to be mean to us. It's like, okay, all right.
right, I don't what like they can't be meaner to me than I can't be to myself. Like that's like I'm sure there's enough mean
They're
stuff
not
going
even
on
as
up here.
creative as I am. Yeah.
No, not they don't
Yeah.
even know me well enough. All they can do is physical appearance stuff. I live in here all day. So it's like I'm
I
not
haven't even looked in the mirror. I am stuck in a side.
yeah, I'm in this thing all day,
Yeah.
all like you can't. I'm not going there to pay money for you to be mean to me. Get the fuck out of here.
No.
But yeah, I think like trying to, and when I've done this show, I've tried to start it out with being like, "Hey, here's my idea for this show. I'm not here to like make you look stupid. If you say something stupid, I probably will point it out,
Yeah,
but
that's
I'm not,
perfect.
but like I'm not here to like make you feel bad or like look dumb. I really just want you to like feel like you can say whatever you like openly and honestly answer like these prompts that I'm giving you.
Yes.
That is like ultimately the thing that I want to try to get together and like put out into the world.
It does sound like such a marriage of the skills of your that we're talking about that you've like gained over the course of time. Because like God forbid there's a traumatic thing. It's like, well, you've heard the most dramatic of calls. Like, you know
Whoa.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
you can hold
absolutely.
space and stay calm in that. But that's why I'm excited to see how this pans out too. Because I just adore. I don't know. I adore these spaces that care about the audience and sort of say like, hey, you are here. You are my scene partner. And
Yeah,
this show does not exist without you.
yeah,
And like the more those shows come up, like talk about community building right now, it's like that is an exhilarating feeling to give to someone. Like the
yeah.
audience doesn't even realize because they're so disconnected from it. So that shit excites me so much. I think it's so exciting to watch and see go down.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's I'm gonna try to I'm definitely gonna try to do one after I've been on tour for a little bit this summer and I feel like I like got my legs back underneath me.
For
And
sure.
probably towards the end of the summer I'll try to do another one in New York. And hopefully I can film it so I can, you know, play with it some more and like figure out what I
Or
want from it.
even, proof of damn concept, which is
Yeah,
still,
exactly.
yeah.
Which is kind of the best thing. I mean, of course, I know we're not supposed to be talking about the results of it all, but
I
I,
love talking about the results. I think excellence should be a goal. You know what I mean? Because you
yeah,
get to do more.
exactly. And I don't know what your relationship is with like fame, but I feel like only really think about being famous as it pertains to like getting the freedom to like be able to
Hmm.
do more of what I want. Like, I truly don't care about like fame for fame's sake, but like, I will say like more people knowing who I am has already allowed me to
Opportunity.
be in more opportunities and more spaces. So it's like I do think that it's like, yeah, you unfortunately do kind of have to think about like little pieces of it.
I'm so like pro fame that I'm like to the point I get confused when there's people like they just want to be famous. I'm like, what? Have greater access to helping people, to their message being like taking. What are you talking about? Like it sounds like a
I
really helpful tool. Like,
I feel like it depends on like where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? Like I think some people just want people to know who they are. And I think some people like so they're like, oh, I need people to know who I am so that I can like do this. Does that make sense?
no, it totally does. My thing is like people then instead of saying the individual is rotted, say fame is rotted. And it's
Mm,
like the individual is using fame in a rotted way. not
Mhm.
fame is rot. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I hear that.
Because I just think it's so weird. It's the same way we do that with money, where we're like, money corrupts all, and so like religious, where I'm like, no, money actually helps so many people. I would love more of it, please.
I yeah, I've never I've n I'll never purport to being like, I gotta get way more famous. I only really wanna be a little bit more famous than where I am right now, and then
Sure,
I
sure,
think I'd
sure.
be, like, very at peace. I would like a lot more money.
Yeah.
I'm very open about that,
Yeah, yeah,
but I also
yeah.
think it's like, I grew up, like, I don't know. I think I got a lot of, like, middle class anxieties around money
I'm
just based
so
on, like
yeah.
just based on, like I don't know, I feel like I tried to talk about this in stand up once, but I don't it never really connected,
No, because
but,
the room is
like
too many different beliefs. Yeah.
yeah, but, I think when you grow up really with, like, very, very little, I
Hmm.
think there was, like, a type of hunger, there was, like, a type of ambition that, like, grows out of that that I think is really awesome, and it becomes a really good story if you become really successful. I think if you have a lot of money, if you grow up with a lot of money and access, then it's like you're so much closer to it already and your
Hmm.
life is so easy. I do in a weird way. I'm like being middle class is like you're in a real space where it's like nobody really cares about a middle class struggle, and you like also don't really have a bunch of resources available to you. Like you're like being a kid who's like parents. My dad worked for the state, my mom worked at a high school, but we lived fine
Yeah.
enough. I never wanted for any like materials. I had everything I like needed for sure. But like those are the types of kids where you're like you're trying to go to college and you're like, "Hey, like can I get this scholarship?" And they're like, "You're not poor enough." And
No.
it's but you're definitely not rich enough to pay for your own school. So just
No.
go ahead and hold these loans down.
Miss
You know, just-
FAFSA.
yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead and how about $50,000 of debt? Would you like that?
It's breadcrumbing almost, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's not quite poor, not quite this, and so you're not motivated either way. And so there is
Yeah.
this sort of handcuffs of just complacency of like, well, we're fine here, and those are the people who volunteer, and it's like, well, you should give back because the
Yeah.
poor can't help themselves and the rich are just
Yeah.
giving money. They're not at the soup kitchen. So it's that weird
No.
identity, and you're not complaining, but you are saying like motivations are different here. Like,
Yeah, it's just sort of yeah, it exists in a different way. I will say my family was definitely way closer to poor than we were to rich. I will say that.
like
That's but we were poor, but we were definitely on the spectrum of rich to poor.
what
We're on
what was
the
the euphemism though? Remember what it used to be like, we're fine. Like it was like
oh, we're comfortable?
yeah, that was it.
Is
Yeah,
it that? We're comfortable?
yeah. Yeah, we're
That's
I mean, I wasn't ready. We were comfortable. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, no. You guys you have a second home. You have a lake house. You were comfortable. You guys
100%. No,
yeah.
it's so funny. I think if you do stand up, you do have to make sure they know that you're not closer to the poor end, and you do have to make it a trauma of like, yeah, it was middle class. It was fine. My mom was there when I came from school every day.
Yeah, my mom was there. I got a snack. I got a
Yeah.
snack for sure.
She
But
had
it
got
was
the
like,
crust off. It was so fucked up. I never learned.
yeah, it's a weird because it's like nobody cares about that. It's not a struggle really, and nobody
No.
cares about whatever that is. But like you don't have enough like resources to really to access the stuff that the actual rich people have. So you're
I
kind of just like, all right,
know. It's like supermodels having insecurities. You're like, no, I validate your experience. Yet that's fine. However, stop.
yeah, it's like this shit doesn't. It's not for real. So yeah.
Now all of a sudden you twist it. You hate them. You're like, nah, actually, JK.
This is my Republican origin story.
That'd be fun. I would really be honored to be sort of a part of the news cycle for that. Um,
It's the most dependable grift that you can grab. If you swing to that side, that's like those people they eat that up.
Okay, we are getting to the end, although I could teach you forever. But the end segment is called Thank You for Holding My Poems. And I really like this because it's more of an abstract segment about just something that means something to you. But it is inspired by the Russian poet Anna Akhmatova, who during the Great Terror in Russia, it was illegal to publish poems of resistance. So her and fellow creatives came up with a system where they would memorize edits of each other's poems and works down to like different commas and spacing. And they held each other's poems over 30 years until it was legal. And to me, the most moving thing we can do in community as artists is kind of hold each other's mess and moments of like unfinishedness or moments that just hit powerfully to you and maybe aren't seen by anyone else. And I always say it can be like a barista that gave you a compliment on a day that like you thought maybe you didn't get the job, or it can be something you watched as a kid and it said, "Holy shit, like this changed my life." So whatever comes up for you when you hear poem or something that hits you in this powerful holding way, I would love for you to share.
Whoa. That's first off, I didn't know about that story at all.
Isn't it
That's beautiful.
incredible? It's
Yeah.
Russians, I will say, they have been in pain kind of always, and they have the most beautiful art because of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's kinda and it's always cold there.
I know.
Um,
And they're always drinking acetone because they don't got any liquor.
yeah. They don't have vodka?
Well, no, it was during
Well
a period of time when like everything
oh,
was prohibition.
it was all yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Um, Man, what's something that I really hold with me in that way? I will say, just from working at SNL, I think that is an environment that can really be like it's a cutthroat environment, famously. It's like an environment where like everybody
Heard of it?
where everybody's
Yeah.
everybody's got their own agenda. Everybody's trying to figure their own stuff out. James Austin Johnson, who plays Trump on the show, I will say he's a guy who I never knew before, never in
Hmm.
my life, and I would say, like, he as a friend has looked out for me in ways, like, working in that place that, like, I will always really value, and also my friends Gary and Alex. My friends Gary and Alex, like,
Our
we
friends.
we got to work together at the show, and I think the kindness and the patience that they've had with, like, working with me in this, like, medium that I, like, didn't really understand that was very new to me is,
Mm.
like, something that I've always been greatly appreciative of and something that, like, I hope to, like, pass along like later on in my life to someone who's like in a similar position. I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, that's a beautiful poem. It is. It's like you know people are your friends, but it's like, oh my God, when they lift you up in moments or help you out, it's like you are God and a parent. It's like so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Also in a very similar vein, I'll just say really quickly,
Yeah.
there was a time when I was in college where I worked like 20 minutes away from like where my university was, and my car broke down. And there's a bunch of friends that I had, my friend Darius, and like a bunch of various other friends that I had that would like drive me to my job to like make sure that I still had it. A similar type of compassion. People who did not have to do it. People were like coming and picking me up and like taking me to work and picking me up and taking me back. Like that type of kindness, the way that I've seen it from people who like did not have to do it is like it's something I'm trying to like take in and like give back out into the world as well.
Like that one gave me chills. Really, that kind of care, like when friends do that and like just even if it's like get in, like it's not even like love it, it's just they know you need that. It's like
Mhm.
that is unconditional love. That is, that is
Totally.
so like my friend of mine, I like had a loved one pass away earlier this year, and I was like I could not do my dishes. I couldn't do anything, and like without a word, she just did the dishes. She was like
Mhm.
I was instantly sobbing. I was like, oh, this is love.
Yeah.
And those little things like you needed to get to work. Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
And you know, you never know how that changed the trajectory of your life.
Literally.
The little drives. Those are
Yeah.
perfect poems. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Well, can you let my listeners know where to find you or where you want them to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Internet Devon, and you can find me on every platform at My Favorite Lyrics Pod if you want to listen to the podcast.
Woo!
It's we're doing it all independent. We didn't have like,
Disco
it's
nap.
all our money. We're all like putting back into this thing, and genuinely like I like it. It's so much fun. It's been mostly comedians so far, but we're gonna start getting like more and more musicians that we can talk
That's
to
so
about like
exciting.
their lyrics and the lyrics that they enjoy. Like we just got plugged in with like this lady who does PR for all these artists, so we're about to start doing that. Like so
That'll be
tune in.
awesome.
It's still pretty early, but I really like it and I think you will too.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for people to listen.
Yeah.
Well, I end every episode by giving my listeners and you a compliment. And please know I don't think of adjectives as gendered. So I say to everyone, oh my God, you're so pretty.
I love that. I haven't been called pretty enough in my life, so that feels lovely.
Let them know. Let them know to
Yeah,
start
yeah,
calling it.
yeah.
Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is hosted by me, Mo Fry Pasick. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is executive produced by Erica Ghetto, Mariah Gossett, and Lauren Mandel for Good Get and Disco Nap Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty.
Slappy Johnson or whoever, and like I'm
Famous comedian
just,
Slappy Johnson.